Hello YouTube, this is the Nerdy Tribunal where a bunch of nerds talk about nerdy things. Today we'll be talking about the Easter eggs found in Spiderman Homecoming. So obviously tons of spoilers for this one, so please go watch the movie and come back and watch our video. This is Derek from the Nerdy Tribunal. I'm joined with Victor and Ernest today. We'll be doing, we'll go kind of run through some of the Easter eggs. So if you watch the movie, there's like a ton of Easter eggs. I'm not sure, even in our video right here, it's going to capture all of them. But we'll try our best.
I think we already cover a fraction of what's in the movie. It's just so many little things that you can just easily miss if you're not paying attention. So you might need a few go-throughs with the movie itself before you can find everything.
And also, if there is sort of Easter eggs we didn't mention, please leave in the comments below. We'd like to, of course, share everybody's comments under there. But make sure this is a spoiler video, so we don't want to ruin for people that haven't watched the movie yet.
So I literally only found one because I know nothing about anything, and that's the Ferris Bueller reference and kind of Easter egg. It's not you'll see in the movie, Spider-Man starts running through people's yards and they'll pop up. On the screen, you'll see the Ferris Bueller movie, him running through. That scene's from I believe, the final act of the movie when he's running home from wherever he is, running towards home, so that the principal and his sister doesn't catch him because he's homesick. Spoiler for Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Too bad. That's a 1980s movie or something. So you guys, it's a bit late for spoilers for that one. But
you gotta watch it though.
You gotta watch it. I digress, but that was the first Easter egg that caught my eye. Victor, did you notice anything? You probably did.
I think one of the first ones I noticed wasn't really exactly a Marvel reference, but when Peter was in his room, he actually had like all these Star Wars figures on his shelf. So kind of a nod to the whole Marvel being owned by Disney thing going on. Yeah.
One Easter egg I spotted myself is when Michael Keaton mentioned Cowboys and Aliens in the beginning, which was a sort of nod to Jon Favreau, Cowboys and Aliens. Again, I'm not too sure if they meant to do that, or was it an actual nod to Jon Favreau. But, that kind of, when he said that line, all I thought it was straight away was Jon Favreau's Cowboys and Aliens.
I noticed that the names of the characters, there's a lot of names used, and I know that Ned Leeds was a character in the Spider-Man movie, but he wasn't portrayed the same way. Are there any other characters kind of like that or mentioned?
Well, at school, one of the girls in the TV when they did the, morning news at the school, her name was Betty Brant. And that ties into kind of the whole Ned Leeds thing in the comic, as we talked about before in the character breakdown. But just a little quick review of who she is in the comics. She was actually one of the first interests for Peter and Ned Leeds. But she was the secretary for J. Jonah Jameson at the Daily Bugle, that's where Peter and Ned Leeds and her all met for the first time. So I'm assuming playing a part of the newscaster, the reporter, she's gonna kind of reference that into the whole Daily Bugle thing in the future.
So there's also, this is obviously, we've mentioned spoilers already, but this is kind of the mini plot twist. Wrong word, but reveal. That's a better word. Thank you, Victor. Reveal that Zendaya plays a version of MJ. Her name in the movie, I believe, is Michelle. And I believe the J stands for Joan. She referenced, in the movie, says people call her MJ. So is this an Easter egg, do you think, or is this gonna be for the movie?
I think it's just a play on words from the sounds of it. She doesn't exactly resemble the MJ, Mary Jane Watson in the comics. Being a Caucasian female with red hair, a little bit different, especially from how Zendaya is portrayed. But I think Feige actually came out and actually stated that this is just a play on words, and she's nothing like the MJ in the comics. So in the future, who knows? We might have someone casted as actual Mary Jane Watson, but I think it's just a coincidence, maybe.
Or they want to change it up a bit. Same. I still feel that has a little crush on Spider-Man, from the looks of it in the movie.
More like crush on Peter Parker. So on the topic of love interest in school, the whole school thing. They're at the Midtown School of Technology and Science. There's a lot of references to people in the MCU that I guess brought the school together. Because one of the murals you see on the walls is of Howard Stark. I guess maybe one of the founders of the school, or definitely a big donator. And on the whole science thing, in the classroom scene, as on one of the pictures above the chalkboard, you see a picture of Bruce Banner, played by Mark Ruffalo, which is the Incredible Hulk in the MCU. So cool little references there to people of significance to science and technology in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Also, when you're mentioning about the pictures in the school, Principal Morita, played by Kenneth Choi, there's a scene with him in the office, and he had a picture, which we believe is his grandfather, Jim Morita. They're one of the Howling Commandos for Captain America.
So moving on, this part was, I wouldn't say a huge, you really call it an Easter egg, but it's referenced at least. It's when Happy references all the gear they're bringing up to the new Avengers base. What do we have? We have here the new Hulkbuster.
Parts of the Hulkbuster.
Hulkbuster. Prototypes of Captain Shield, Captain America Shield. A magical belt. And that's it, right? Yeah. What are those things? No clue what those are. Besides Hulkbuster, I know that, and the shield, obviously.
Yeah, well, there's been a few different versions of Captain America's shield. In terms of prototype, I don't know where they're really going with it. Captain America's always had his vibranium shield. We've seen energy versions of it on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. used by Phil Coulson. So I don't know what kind of prototype. Maybe he's playing around with something, but it's really hard to say. There's not exactly a picture we can reference to, so we don't know.
So we got the Hulkbuster. That's just the suit that he wore to fight in Age of Ultron, right?
Yeah.
He fought the Hulk in that, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Sorry.
Well, Hulkbuster. So yes, it's meant to fight the Hulk. They mentioned parts. I don't know if it's the second one. The first one was damaged, but I don't think it was fully destroyed. So maybe just attachments of some sort.
Okay. And the last thing, some magical belt. It's for Thor, I presume, but I think it mentions for Thor.
Yeah,
and it's magical. I have no clue. What is this?
So if we're actually referencing to the whole 616 comic universe, this would be the belt that he uses to augment his strength. I'm really bad at pronouncing names, so I'm going to take a stab at it. It's Meginord, or either something to the lines of that.
If you know how this is pronounced, just type it out phonetically in the comments, and we'll try our best next time.
And I apologize for butchering that. But yeah, the belt's whole point is to augment his strength. Like, he is a god of thunder, so he's very powerful up already on the whole, I guess you could say the whole structure of gods in Norse mythology. But this is to basically enhance it so he can fight a greater foe.
Okay, so we don't know, and this could have just been purposely put in just to kind of get our brains churning for the upcoming movies for Marvel. But this is kind of off topic from the Easter eggs, but do you think there's any significance moving forward with these items and they're going to new Avengers base, or is it just kind of one of those cool little things they throw in?
Well, we know the next movie from the MCU is Thor Ragnarok, so who knows? Maybe that belt will show up and play a pivotal role. We don't know yet, but it'll be interesting to see how it all ties in.
I'm just more curious about, because now that Captain America, well, the last time you see him, obviously he's hiding. And him and Tony really do have, I guess, different perspective on where they want to go in terms of the Sokovia Accord and such. Those shields that he had for him, would you think that those are the shield that were made earlier and now he doesn't know what to do with them, or just moving to the base for now, or these could be the backup shields for Captain America? Like, at that point, we won't know until, I guess, later on.
Maybe he's trying to make something that's replacing his shield, because we know how valuable vibranium is. It's not easily obtained unless you can strike a deal with Wakanda and kind of get vibranium that way. So maybe just an extra prototype in case anything does happen to his shield. One little tidbit to just kind of straying away from the topic a little bit. We do see that they are moving out of Stark Tower. One little interesting I kind of thought of is who's going to be the next owner or occupant of the tower. One name that kind of comes to mind is Norman Osborn. Good opportunity to bring him into the fold, and it seems like that it'll be a nice home for Oscorp and him. So who knows?
And from my memory, Norman Osborn in the original movies, like one of Tobey Maguire, he was the Hobgoblin? Green Goblin? Which Goblin?
Green Goblin.
He's the Green Goblin, right? So, big player in the Spider-Man world.
So one of the Easter eggs that we noticed also was Spider-Man's suit. You can hear her more than anything. You can't really see her, but her name is Karen, is actually voiced by Jennifer Connelly. And the very similar thing with Jarvis for Iron Man is Jarvis was also voiced by Paul Bettany, and Paul Bettany is the husband of Jennifer Connelly.
The one interesting thing is, I don't know about the whole name of Karen. I don't know if there's a significance behind that. But a lot of people seem to think that this is a possibility of another Avenger character, which was previously mentioned, very briefly, not by voice, but from a picture. I think it was Age of Ultron, where Tony Stark was going through a whole bunch of discs for his AI, and one of the discs he saw on his desk was named Jocasta. Jocasta being a female, pretty much like a female version of Ultron. She was an Avenger. She's the good, not the bad. So she actually fought against Ultron many times. And we see how Jarvis became the Vision. So a lot of people are kind of seeing that, I guess, that parallel, you can say, and seeing maybe that eventually she turned into Avenger Jocasta. And you know what? You can probably cast her as it, so it kind of works out. Okay, so in one of our last nerdy updates, we mentioned the fact that Donald Glover would be playing Aaron Davis, aka the Prowler. So this was actually something that happened in the movie. Spider-Man's suit, actually, AI Karen actually picked it up. That if you look at the interface on the bottom right-hand corner, it mentioned that he goes by the alias Prowler. So, very true to comics. But one of the most shocking things was the fact that he mentioned about his nephew. And as mentioned from the update, Aaron Davis' nephew in the comics, in the Ultimate Universe, is Miles Morales, which is the Ultimate Spider-Man. So it's kind of a big reveal, mentioning that Miles Morales is potentially going to be a part of the MCU's future.
Okay, so Miles Morales, I'm not very familiar with him, so he's just like another version of Spider-Man in a different kind of timeline. Would that be correct?
Yeah, so in the Marvel Comics, there's a whole bunch of different universes. The two major ones being the 616, which is the normal the normal storyline, you can say. And then they have the 1610 universe, which is the Ultimate Universe. These universes usually don't mix together, but in a few events in the comics, they actually have Miles Morales in the 616 universe now. So it's kind of interesting to see that he's already a part of the MCU. So it'll be interesting to see how Marvel plans to use him. Or I guess you can say more in terms of how Sony will allow him to be used. Because we know that Sony's could be making an animated movie for the Ultimate Spider-Man, Miles Morales.
Okay, so this one's the last one on our list. I see the name Mac Gargan.
He wasn't really mentioned by name at first. We kind of first noticed him having a scorpion tattoo on his neck. He was there on the ferry. Kind of gets hurt during that whole kerfuffle between the goons, you can say, and Spidey. But basically, Mac Gargan, the name in the comics, is the real name of the guy that became the Scorpion. So once again, with the whole tattoo of it, one kind of thing you notice at the end, where in the post-credit scenes, when he meets up with Adrian Toomes, the Vulture, you can see his arms was damaged, I guess, in the fight. So we kind of have a feeling that, they can use that to build upon an exoskeleton or some type of armor base that's going to lead to him being the Scorpion. We also kind of hear one part where the Tinkerer mentions Gargan tail. I'm not sure if anyone else noticed it, but
The Tinker's the dude that was making all the gear, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and we know that he wasn't captured or killed or anything like that, so he's out there still. So the fact that he kind of mentioned Gargan tail, that might have some kind of correlation to him becoming a Scorpion later on, Mac Gargan. One interesting note as well is Mac Gargan was actually the Venom for a little while in the 616 universe as well. So a lot of possibilities, but I think most likely he's going to become a villain in one of the next Spider-Man movies from the looks of things.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of this episode. I'm quite sure we missed a bunch of Easter eggs. We've only watched this movie once because we can only afford to watch it once. So if you guys want to sponsor us and let's watch it again so we catch more for you guys, then please go to our Facebook page. And if you guys saw something that we missed, please in the comments let us know. But yeah, that's it. We'll catch you next episode. Thanks.